So we are looking at you on Discord. What about the sound? Is it good?
I hear music, I hear music, I hear Cedric. Sounds like it, sounds like it. And we are, okay, I see a bunch of thumbs up, and it is the top of the hour.
Mishra is back.
Yeah, I know, I see some repeats, that's wonderful. It's kind of the whole point when we do a 2-day workshop, right?
Sure, that's perfect. Okay, let me shut down the music now. Up. Okay, that's just us now.
Oh, I'm seeing some messages about lots of echo.
Should not be the case now. I switch off.
Okay, can you guys give us a confirmation if there's no more echo?
Okay, no why.
Now it's good.
Right.
Okay, good. Wonderful. No more echo. Yay!
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Let's get rolling.
Excellent. So it is 12 o'clock p.m. and welcome everybody to day 2. Right. This is day 2 of our Cassandra Developer Workshop. And let me go ahead and do this. All right. So for today, we're going to do differently. You may have noticed that there is somebody else here on the screen with me. So Cedric Lemong. Yes. Say hi, Cedric.
Yes, hi. So I will present myself. So I'm Cedric Lemong, based in France, and I'm leading the developer advocacy team. So I will do the second part today about application development. But hey, I'm here also to stop David if you do have questions on anything.
Yeah, if I do anything terrible, then Cedric is really here to stop
as usual, you know.
So and again, I'm David Jones-Gilardi, developer advocate, and of course we are joined by Jack Fryer, our community manager, and Alex Volochnev, who is in the background handling all sorts of wonderful things for us. So again, we have DataStax team and everybody in the Discord chat. So to interact with us or anything like that, make sure to do it in Discord there. So today what we're doing, and this is essentially part 2, the return, right? This is part 2 of the material that we were going over yesterday, where we started with some Cassandra fundamentals, went into data modeling and everything. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at some other types, like collection types, some advanced data types. And then Cedric is going to bring you through the code aspect, the application driver and the application coding aspect for this. And then we'll kind of tie up. So it is going to be about roughly 2 hours today. There's a good chance we're going to go a little over, maybe say like 15, 20 minutes over, just to kind of prime you guys for that.
Yes,
but we'll try to keep it within the time. Yeah. Okay, so with that, first thing I want to mention is if you guys remember from yesterday, right, we had a whole set of quizzes and things like that we had everyone going through. And I just want to point out, for those of you who are still here today, if you're Owise, Rohit, or Deepthi, you guys came in the top 3, right? So reach out to Jack Fryer to get whatever we end up sending you. I don't know, I have to find out from Jack what is on the list right now.
Yeah, I think we do have a bunch of swag, so socks, caps, t-shirts. Let's see. That would be a full package for you guys.
Yeah. So definitely. Wise, Rohit, Deepthi, make sure to reach out to Jack Fryer to get your swag box. Now, what we're going to do, though, is for everybody who's on today, we're resetting, right? We're resetting all of the numbers and everything like that. So as we do the quizzes and everything, you now have a new chance to get your own swag.
Oh,
so
yes.
Definitely participate.
Your name on the top of the list today.
Yes. Okay. One last thing, by the way, before I get into the actual material, I do want to say something. So for those of you folks who maybe came in new today, or if you were in yesterday, but maybe you came in late or something, or you just didn't get your instance set up, the cool thing about it is the way all these are set up, you can just start off with what we're doing today. You don't have to worry about the stuff we did yesterday, except for one part, right? I'm going to drop this in the Discord chat. Oh, Rohit is like game on. He says, awesome, thanks guys. Looking forward to getting 2 swag boxes. So, so that's
okay, I saw the question about Menti. So yeah, we will give you the Menti code a bit later. There will be a dedicated slide for it.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, we're not doing Menti just yet. We're going to get right into the material today. We want to use as much of this time to continue on and everything. But when we go to do Menti again, we will go to menti.com and we'll give you the code and everything. But if you notice the link that I just dropped, let me drop it in the other chats as well. for those.
Yeah, so that's the link to create Astra instance for you. So Cassandra is a service in the cloud provided by DataStax. We did that yesterday with folks. They do have their own instance running on free tier. It will be there forever. So you can go there and create your own. It will take you a bunch of minutes. And then you can do the exercise with us today.
Exactly. And if you did this with us yesterday, you're all good. You don't need to do this part. This is just for those folks who might be coming in today. I'm glad that Wayne notices the nice and giant microphone. Now I have to do this. We were joking about this earlier. Depending on where I put it, I can make it like the biggest microphone ever, yeah. Right? But we're not going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to put it back where it was.
I still need one.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Cedric.
No, I still need my one big mic as well, you know.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm hoping you guys can hear a little bit more of the fullness of my voice today. Okay, so with that, again, we dropped the link down in there if you need to create your Astra instance, but if you did it with us yesterday, you don't need to do it again today. We're just going to continue on. So with that, today, like I mentioned, we're going to get into advanced data types, collections, things like that. These are things that go past what you do with the regular primitive types, things like text and ints and that kind of deal, where you can do a little bit more things there. We'll talk about lightweight transactions and batches. There were a set of questions that came up yesterday that really tie into exactly what LWTs and batches are for. So I'm hoping this is going to help answer it for some of you guys. And then a totally new section that we weren't talking about before was the application drivers, where we get to hook up your application end to end into Astra. And this is stuff, these are kind of lessons that you can take into your own applications when you're using Cassandra. Okay,
yes,
so with that.
And okay, just before starting, just speaking of, for today to do the application driver part, you will need a virtual machine we have set up for you.
Yes.
But you didn't receive an email yet. So please go to DM either Alex Voloshnev or Jack Fryer, and they will dispatch instances, password, and URL for you. So during the first part, we will do slides. Reach those guys. They will give you a running VM for you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding or for saying that, because I totally forgot to mention it. So there you go. Okay, so in the world of collections, like I said, if you're going to push past, say, primitive types, your regular kind of like text, int, UUID, so on and so forth, sometimes you need to do things that are just a little bit more complex or a little bit more involved, right? That's where collections come into play. Now, the cool thing is that for any of us that are application developers, which is most of us coming into these workshops, right, and us as well on the advocate team, we're used to things like sets, lists, and maps because we have them in most of our programming languages. And the nice thing is that they act the same way here in Cassandra as they do in our programming languages. So we have three. We have a set, we have a list, and a map. A set is essentially going to be a set of items that are unordered and unique. Meaning, let's say that I had a set of tags, right? And maybe I had multiple insert statements. And in one insert statement, I added a tag that was Cassandra. And in that same, or in the next insert statement, I added another tag, which was also Cassandra. Well, the set's only going to represent one of those, right? So it does ensure that it is a unique but unordered list. A list is going to be an ordered list of items, where a set is unordered, a list is going to be ordered, and then a map is a set of key value pairs. Now, something I want to point out with all of these, but especially the map, is to kind of encourage you to stay away from the tendency to want to make a database of a database. And what I mean by that is, could I set up a nested map where I say, create a key with a value of a map with a key with a value map? Could I do that? I could. But that's really not going to, performance-wise and stuff like that, that's not really going to kind of scale in the long run. It is not meant or intended for that kind of purpose. So just keep that in mind to try not to keep create a database of a database when you use maps. Okay, let's break these down a little bit. Let's take a look at a set. So notice here I'm creating my videos table. I have a set of columns that have their normal types, things like UUID and text and everything. But in the case of tags, I want to create a group of tags, right? A set of tags. All I have to do in this case is essentially the type is set, and then you can see whatever the actual type is, text. So set of text. Now, how do I then use this? Well, let's say I have a set of text. in my insert statement here on the top. Now, what we're going to do, the way I'm going to break this down, is each one of these, I'm gonna pretend like we're executing the first one and then the next one and so on and so forth. So in the first one, I'm going to insert into my videos table. Notice that I, of course, need my ID. I need my partition key, right? But then I'm going to use tags, and you can see the braces here, the curly braces here, where I'm using side splitter and short. So now I'm creating a set of tags, side splitter and short, on my insert for this particular ID. Now in the next case, let's say I wanted to replace that entire set. I can just update my videos table with that same ID, but notice my set tags equals, and I'm just replacing the whole thing. So if I were to do a select statement at this point after I've done this update statement, what would I see? I would see dark and sad, because at this point I've completely replaced the previous set of side splitter and short. Then in the third example here, now this is where I'm adding to an existing set, right? So you can see I'm updating my videos table, but this time notice the syntax, set tags equals to tags plus whatever the value is. So at this point, if I were to do my select statement, I would see a set of dark, sad, and enthralling, right? And you're going to find that this pattern that we see, especially using it, is something very common when using the collection types. Okay, now let's move to a list. So in this case, I have my actors by video table. And notice in my table, I've got my actors column that I'm now setting to a list of text. So notice how easy that is. Before we had a set of text, now it's just a list of text, right? And so in this case, I'm going to have an ordered list of my actors. How do I use it? Very similar. The difference is going to be, notice now that I'm using brackets instead of curly braces, right? So it's the same syntax generally, except for now this should look like an array, right? It looks just like an array. So I'm going to insert into my actors by video table, again using my partition key here with my video ID, and then I'm saying, okay, actors will be the list of Adams, Baker, and Cox. And now if I want to replace that entire list, similar to what we did with a set, if I just update actors by video, I'm going to set all of actors to whatever the new values are. So if I were to then execute my select statement at this point, I would see Arthur and Beverly. And then finally, if I want to, again, append something, if I want to add something to the list, right, you can see in this last example, I'm going to say update actors by video. I'm now going to set actors equal to actors plus whatever the value. And again, notice that I'm using the brackets here. So in this case, if I perform my select statement, I would see Arthur, Beverly, and Crawford. Okay, so moving on. One other thing you can do with the list operation that's actually pretty cool is you can actually access a specific element of the list directly, right? So that's what we're doing here. So notice in this particular case, when I'm updating actors by video, I'm actually updating element 1 of the actors list to brown. The key thing to note about doing something like this is that if I do this, it will incur a read before a write, right? So one thing to just keep in mind that you kind of want to use those, wisely or more sparingly, because there will be some performance penalty there because of the read before write. Okay, next one is a map.
Okay,
so again, go ahead, Cedric. Yep.
Yeah, just to stop you. So yesterday we told you that there is no joins in Cassandra. And sometimes when you come from RDBMS, you might feel stuck. Well, with list and set, it's kind of one-to-many relation. Instead of having records associating to one parent record, let's put everything in the same table and using the list. Having the list of my group will now be a list in the user table or a set in the user table. And like that, you can still do one-to-many type of relationships. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm actually seeing a really good, whoops, here, I just put a really weird emoji there. There we go. I just saw, I just saw a BitShifta actually said, generally speaking, sets are unique and have no order, whereas lists can have duplicates but maintain their order. Exactly.
That's really like Java, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why I made that comment in the very beginning, that for those of you familiar with using these types of objects in your programming languages, they're going to feel very familiar, right? None of this should be like I would say totally complex or like rocket science or anything.
Yes.
Okay, so in the case
now,
of
last thing just for Java guys, the set are coded with linked hash set, meaning that the order is not maintained in the set, but it is in the list.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. All right, so in the case of a map, again, this is going to look very familiar at this point. I'm going to create my table, users. Notice here, I've got my phone numbers. Now, in this case, I want to use a map, again, key value. So you notice there's going to be 2 parameters here in my map, map of a text to a text. How do I use it? There we go. This is going to look very, very similar. There's one slight difference is now we're going to use the colon, right, to separate our key and value in each of these cases. So again, I have my insert statement into my users table. With some ID, I need to always provide that partition key, and then whatever my phone numbers are. So in this first example, I'm inserting a cell key with 8675309 value. Anybody know whose phone number that is, 8675309? Just put it in the chat. We got to add that to Menti now I think about it. That's actually a fun, fun
Let's do that next time, yes.
Yeah. And then I've got home is my key separated by the colon and the number, and then business, busy is my key separated by the colon and value, right? So it looks very similar to what a set does, but you notice this difference between the key value, so on and so
yes,
forth.
Yes,
now, again,
that's really like a JSON, right? And you may notice that this is a curl bracket. And for set and map, it's curl bracket, and for list is square bracket. So don't be, yeah. And you see, even the keys are quoted. Yeah, that's you will maybe eventually make the mistakes eventually in the exercise right after. So square bracket and quote both cells, keys and values, because here we are a map of text.
By the way, I just want to point out that TM did get the correct answer, that 8675309 is Jenny's number. So that was very good. Unfortunately, now that song
Jenny's
is
for
actually...
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, oh, no, not that Jenny.
Jenny.
That number now, it dates us, for those who know that answer, because that song was from like 80.
Oh, boy.
1 or something. That's funny. Okay, so in the second case, if I want to replace the entire map, we're going to do the same type of thing here where I update users. Again, notice that there's no increment or decrement here. I'm just saying set phone numbers equals to now I'm replacing the full map with a new cell number and a new office number. And then if I want to add to that map, if I want to add something onto it, I will update against my table with set phone numbers equals to phone numbers plus whatever that is. So at this point, if I were to then perform my select statement against this particular row, I would find my phone numbers would be cell, office, and desk. Okay, so moving on from the collections, right? That's pretty much, that just sums up the collections. Actually, let me go ahead. Yes, TM, some of us are definitely from the 80s. I was born in 76 myself, so there's that. And I'm just looking at some of the questions here. It looks like they're getting answered.
Yeah, I think we are not behind. Everything has been answered yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay, so then with that, let's move on to another type, a UDT, a user-defined type, right? So a little bit different from the collections. User-defined types are really good in scenarios where, imagine something like address, the example we have here. Imagine you have multiple tables that all need to support a particular complex type. Now, an address generally has more than one component. And as you see here, like street, city, state, and there could be plenty of other things. Now, could I create multiple tables that all had address components, all had city, state, or street, city, state in them? I could, right? But in a case like that, that might not be the most efficient way to do things. And not only that, if you know that you have a type that is going to be shared across, it might be good to use something like a UDT. So what happens though is notice the create type syntax here. So you're actually creating this at the key space level, not the table level. Where it becomes cool is that after I create my address type, now when I create my table, I can just use that type as another type. So location, I just pass it the type address. It will now use the UDT. So how do I work with those? Again, this is going to look really similar. I mean, all this is so straightforward. I think that once you do it once or twice, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. This is going to look much like a map in a way.
Really?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, that's totally the same syntax as a map. The only change is really now look at the keys. keys are not quoted anymore because it's a defined schema. So now street is a street. You cannot add any key you like. This is a UDT, it's defined.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. So here I'm going to insert my initial values. And again, I always have to provide that partition key. So for this partition key, I will have then location information of, the street, city, and state here, 123 Main, Metropolis, California. If I want to update that, again, I'm going to say update to the same ID where I'm setting location equal to some value. Notice the braces. So at this point, if I perform my select statement, I'll have a full replacement, 234 Elm, New York City, New York. And then finally, if I want to replace one field, now check this out. This is a little bit different from what we've done before. In the case of a UDT, I can actually use dot notation and get direct access to the individual fields in the UDT. So notice in this case, when I update it, I'm only updating the city portion of my address to Albany, right? So if I were to then perform my select statement at this point, I would actually see my street is 234 Elm with the city of Albany in the state, New York.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions here. So first on UDT, because we are here, if you miss to enter one of the column, like here, if I do not enter city, it's not a big deal. It's just not there. Cassandra is pretty good to have scarce table. It's not a big deal to have no value for any column, except from the primary key. It's totally fine to not enter anything. So that was for the UDT. And I got also a question about maps. Well, updating a key in the map is really like the second state here. Update set value, map name equals and key semicolon value. And you would put some quote in the key only because in our sample, the key is a text. This is a SQL, a Cassandra query language. Each time you provide text, you put quote. But you can do map of integers and text, and there you won't quote the key because key are just integers. And okay, of course, I can see that, yes, UDT support map, list, and set, and the other way around. You can have a map of UDT. And you know what? You can also nested some UDT. But here, if you're familiar with Mongo or any document database, you might think that, oh, nested UDT is really like a document type. So yes and no, you can do it with Cassandra, but it's not really recommended because each time you will edit anything in the whole object, nested UDTs, you need to update, meaning replicate, because it's only append only in Cassandra, meaning replicate the full value. So it's not a good idea really to put everything in a single UDT. You would rather use multiple columns, and it's not a big deal to have big tables in Cassandra. This is what it's used for.
Alrighty. All right, moving on then from this. And then finally for the UDT piece, as I mentioned before, you do have this dot notation access. So if I wanted to only select an individual field from a UDT, I can totally do that. So you can see in this case where we have this set location dot city from the users table, of course, where my partition key equals some value. Okay, so counters. Counters, there are counters in Cassandra. Counters, though, specifically are to be used for more, say, imprecise values. They're not meant to be used for exact counts, right? So when I say imprecise values, I'm talking things like likes or views. Imagine if you have a YouTube channel and for a particular video, you've got like 1 million views or something like that. Does it really matter that you have 1,236,334 views or 335 views? You can have a little bit of play in there, and that's perfectly fine for something like that, right? So I just want to be clear, though, that counters do exist. They're very easy to use, but they should be used really for more imprecise values. And really what that comes down to is counters are not idempotent. So let's pretend for a second that I go to update a counter and it times out for whatever reason. I don't know whether or not that update has actually occurred. So I don't know if I'm going to end up with an overcount or an undercount or something if I try to reapply that counter, right? So they definitely have a use. There are use cases for them, but they're not something to really be used for precise exact count type scenarios. When you go to use them, it's assumed that they start at 0, right? So if you create a counter field, it will start at 0, and you can only increment or decrement. I'm going to show you examples of this. You do not insert directly into a counter. Some other things to know about them: it can't be part of a primary key, and you can't mix them with other field types. So if you're going to use a counter, you'll create a table with a partition key, and then any field in there, any column needs to be of a counter type for that particular table. Let me show you an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just looking at the cache question at the same time in Discord, and I do have one. Does counters type imply a read before write to do increment and decrement? And the answer is no. And to that reason, those statements are not idempotent. That means if you execute multiple times the same increment, well, you will increment your counter multiple times. It's fast, but no read before write, and that's also the reason why it's not so accurate. It's a distributed.
Yes.
It's a distributed writes.
Yes, exactly. So if we take a look at this example here, notice in our create table, our video playback stats, I have my video ID is my partition key, and then I have a single field here, views of a counter type, right? There's no mixing and matching or anything like that. My partition key, and then whatever my counter is. When we want to use it, like I said, you don't insert directly into a counter, right? It's assumed that when you create it, it starts at 0, and then you increment or decrement from there. So notice in my update statement here, I'm going to update videos. We created views as our counter. So if I want to increment it, I can say set views equals to views plus 1. Now, by the way, it doesn't have to be just 1. If you want to increment this by 50, you could increment it by 50, right? So you're not limited to that. And it's the same thing when you decrement, right? You just, in this case, I'm going to say set views equals to views minus 1. And this is the only method that you can use to increment or decrement your counters.
And this is the way you insert value in counters table. There is no insert. It's always update. And if the counters does not exist, it will be created. Okay.
All right. So with that, we'll go ahead, and I see some questions. I see they're getting answered. I'm going to go ahead and now, before we get into the next exercise, we're going to go ahead and start our first quiz. So if you guys remember this from yesterday, let's go ahead and please pop in a Menti. Let me drop a link for you guys. Menti.com. And our code is going to be 13. I think it's the same as it was yesterday, actually.
It's the same, I think. Yep.
That should be it. Oops.
Yes, let's go.
I'll drop this everywhere.
Yay, game, quiz.
Woohoo! And we'll do this, or not. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Oh yeah, did we move it so the numbers are in the right spot this time? Can we see the numbers?
You know what? I can totally...
Uh-oh, they're behind Cedric today.
Okay, you know what? I can totally...
You're going to move yourself?
Disappear.
Oh, I thought you were going to float. I was really excited. Oh, Cedric, just look at that. Cedric just disappeared. Oh,
I just disappeared. Yeah, that's a technology.
Uh-oh, look at that. Now, Marianganti says, now I hate you guys. We've officially been hated. So
oh, man.
We'll make sure, you know, later on there is a thumbs down in one of these. Make sure to press that thumbs down. Give us a lot of thumbs down.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So all right, so I see a bunch of you guys are coming in. Let's see. All right, so, I think we're at yeah, I see the numbers. I think a lot of people are hitting the thing. I think we can move on.
I will put myself back online. You know.
Yeah, go for it. So the first thing here, before we get to the quiz, we actually, since we're going to be doing some of the application development stuff, we want to get in ideas, some ideas of the languages that you guys are using. Yeah, please go fill those out. This is a multi-answer, right? Many of us code in more than one language, so feel free to code or to give answers from multiple languages there. And actually, I'm going to put mine as well. There we go.
Oh, we missed Scala, boy.
Oh, Scala! I'm so sorry.
Man,
so sorry.
We put OCaml, Haskell, or any dark language, and forget about Scala. Okay, thumb down the video now on YouTube. All right. Yes, looking for the sound. Seems okay, no issue on my side.
Okay.
So many COBOL dev. No, they're
That's
all
awesome.
dead by now. No, okay.
I love the Perl ones, right? We got some Perl. No Rust, huh? Jeez.
No.
No Rust. I'm just so disappointed. How about OCaml? Come on, where's our OCaml folks? All right. Well, I'm not surprised. I think we got the spread in the areas that we kind of normally expect. But is there anything else you want to get out of that one, Cedric?
No, that's good result. I'm pretty happy about the result.
Okay, good. All right, thank you everybody for answering there. All right, let's get into our quiz. And here we go. You guys hopefully remember this from yesterday.
Okay, and if you're new, you need to enter your name first. So
That's right. We're going to give you a moment.
Yeah,
let's
give you a moment for you to enter your name. Okay, and I will try to put back a little bit of music here.
You read my mind.
Yeah. But okay, so let me see.
All right, and don't forget for all those you get in here, you get a chance for some swag.
Maybe some echo just for a minute.
All right, what do you think? You guys ready? Are you ready, Cedric? Are you ready? There we go. All right, let's do it. And first one, as we wait for our players, we'll let them get in. Yeah, you guys should all be thumbs up. Yep. Wonderful. Okay. And CQL collections include should we have a special thing for that? Like the music? The music, Cedric. That's right, good. CQL collections include sets, lists, and maps. And most of you got that right. I see there were a couple coin stamps and butterflies. One thing, by the way, I noticed that KK is saying no provision to enter name. So I'm wondering, Cedric, if because we continued on the same quiz that we had yesterday, if it didn't actually let folks enter their name. I've noticed, KK, before when I've done it, if you don't see a box, usually we'll automatically assign you something. Let us know, if you will, if you're not able to play the quiz or something. All right, the sets, list, and map is the correct answer. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. After we do the leaderboard, I seem to forget this every time we do the leaderboard. Dragon Knight. I like that one. That's cool. Oh, this is already really close. Oh, Wise is back. Check that out. Uh-oh. All right, so Wise is trying to take the lead or trying to get back up there, but Dragon Knight has got the top. All righty, next one. Wise, if you didn't hear it, what's the difference between set and a list? What's the difference between a set and a list? And let's see what happened. There you go. Good. Yay, yes. Lists have order and sets don't. Yes. By the way, for Wise, I was saying before I interrupted myself with the question, if you didn't hear it earlier, make sure you reach out to Jack because you won yesterday. Make sure you reach out to Jack to get your swag box. Oh, Javid said, did I already miss a quiz to drop? If you hear, just in case you missed it, let me post you the link. And we are 13:25:82. There you go. That way you can go ahead and join. Alrighty, yes, lists have order and sets don't. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. These are always so fun. Oh, why is that a quick answer there? Dragonlight, Maria Z, and adds. Oh, look out, jeez. Oh, Robbie jumps up to the top there. Ramesh, I think I saw you yesterday on, and Prabin. And it looks like you guys are trying to knock a wise off the top. Alrighty. All right, go to the next one. What does UDT stand for? I think I was particularly mean with this one. They're all really close, but yes, it's a user-defined type. No unhealthy data teams? Come on, come on. There's got to be a healthy data team out there somewhere. All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard. Oh, we have some quick answers in this one. Oh, I see Makunda's back up on the list. Oh, Ravi holds the lead, but Wise. Okay, Wise is like, I think Wise is like sick of me trying to, yeah, that makes me like. But Probin worked back up. Dragonite's keeping in the running here. I see Buzz Lightyear came on. This is the teddy bear version. We better have a good swag box, right? We better have a good swag box. All right, counters are good for. If anyone gets my joke answer, please put it in the chat. All right. Yes, I love this. Imprecise values such as likes or views or whatever. Definitely do not want to use counters for exact counts or anything like that. And I'm glad that some thought it was actually incrementing primary key indexes, because I tried to make that sound like it was actually legit. But yes, the absolutely nothing. Say it again. Anybody know the song War? God, it was what, from like 65 or something? Yeah, totally dating myself. All right, what's the leaderboard look like? I gotta use newer songs. All right. Oh, it's gonna be close again. Oh, Wise. Wow. Oh, Wise is just like. Are we gonna have somebody who wins 2 days in a row? I don't know, Probin. Probin, you got a chance, man. You got a chance. Oh, wow, Taylor Swift. Wow. I can't believe it. Our workshops have become popular enough that Taylor Swift should. That is amazing. I hope Taylor, I hope you get it. All right. All right, so with that was awesome, guys. All right, let's go into exercise 5. So
up and up. No echo, we're back.
Oh, that quick trigger finger from playing Call of Duty. That's awesome. All right, so let's go to exercise 5. So again, I'll drop that here in the chat. And for those of you who were with us yesterday, you should also have the download. If you remember, if I go to my downloads, and you will see exercise 5. So we will go to, I need to probably log in. I may have sessioned out, but we'll find out. So you go, if you don't remember from yesterday, you go to your studio. That's in Astra. Remember, we have our database. You launch Developer Studio, go to Studio. And in here, I can literally just grab my exercise 5, advanced data types, drag and drop it in. And it will go to the notebook. Again, do not forget that first hidden cell, or the empty looking one, to run this cell to create all of your schema. And we will give you guys 15 minutes for this one. So let me go ahead and set that up. Or not.
Oh, so I guess I'm going back to the music. Give me one sec.
Yeah, we need the music.
Yeah. Come on. Let me. I'm on fire. Let's do it. Boom, boom, boom.
KK, do we get the goodies signed by Taylor Swift? That's awesome.
Okay.
I don't know. We gotta ask Taylor Swift if she's gonna do that for us. Right. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. I almost forgot we scrolled down there. So, does this one have a bonus in it? Yeah, I don't. It looks like this one doesn't, but I know some of the others do. So if you do find these that have bonus sections, we've tried to add even more material for you in general. So there is extra for you to do. I don't think you could actually get through all of the bonus materials in all the notebooks today. That's not what it's intended for. It's really intended for you kind of go off on your own and kind of noodle on it. But feel free to do them if you get that far. I think you were muted, Cedric. It made it sound like I was talking to myself and like having a conversation with myself. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, I got it. Should be back. So it's only you doing echo. Okay. All right. Makes sense. You know, and when you're done with the exercise, you can go to Discord and put a thumb up to tell us that we can move on. Again, we want to make sure that you do have enough time to read through the exercise and try to do it on your own. So it's 40 minutes. I think we are doing good.
I did promise that I would have everyone done by like 1:15. So let's see. And we are now playing Freedom by Calv, and everything you hear is no copyright music. Do you want to play the radio with me, David? I'm listening to your radio right now. I'm not sure if I unmute me if that's causing some of the echo people were hearing before.
So looking at your question in Discord, we find So I know you are going through the exercise right now, but just as a reminder, the last exercise today will be code. So in the repo, you would have the code for Python, Java, and Node. If you do have your own IDE, you could run the exercise, but if you don't, we would provide you a virtual machine on the cloud. Just ping Alex or Jack in Discord to get one.
Oh, you beat me to it, Wei. I was just answering, but here, let me at least provide some value and give the documentation link. Yeah, he beat me. I was pulling. Yeah, Wei beat me to it. There you go, TM. Nice. 8, 6, 7, 5, 2, 9. Oh, I got it. Did I say 81? I think I got it right. Ha! I can only imagine how many times people back in the day tried to dial that number. TM. Okay. Almost there. I'm going to try to beat it so we don't get that alarm clock this time. I forget about it every single time. I'm ready. I'm totally ready.
Okay. Right. I stopped the video and I'm not muted anymore.
Hopefully you guys were able to,
yes,
at least get some experience, right? Get through and get an idea of how to play with the different collection types. And again, on these free tier Astra databases that you guys have, these are going to stay up, right? These aren't going to go anywhere. The notebooks. Now, something I kind of very quickly mentioned yesterday, but I didn't say much more. I kind of glossed over it. When you're in the notebook and you've done a bunch of the work, if you go to the hamburger menu in the top left-hand corner and say export, it'll export all of the queries, all the stuff you've done and everything. So then later on, you can save that, right? So then later on, let's say you're working with a different version of Cassandra or Astra somewhere else. You can just reuse this notebook with all of the work you've done. So if you want to save what you've done up until this point, just export the notebook and you're good to go and you'll have that, separate from just leaving the notebook up in Astra. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and move on.
Let me just try to answer one question by try, TRI. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, so first question was about the size. And same yesterday, got a bunch of questions about what is big, what is not. So in Cassandra, there is a physical limitation to 2 to the power 63 rows in a table. That's not huge. It's probably more than atoms in the universe. So that's not a limitation. Second physical limitation is you cannot have more than 2 gigabytes of data inside a single cell. And third limitation is you can have more than 2 billion cells in a partition. But those numbers are just huge. So we do have recommended size. So first is how many records. The rule of thumb for the records is 100,000 per partition. You can do more, but if you do more, you may have to scan the whole partition even if you provide a proper partition key. And so you may want to provide yet another column to be part of your partition key. This is what we call bucketing, splitting a partition when it's too big. Second recommended size is the volume inside a partition. We told you about gossiping and nodes communicate to each other. If you're working with too big partitions, that's just big ball of data to exchange is not as smooth. So again, rule of thumb is about 100 megabytes per partition. And last but not least is within a cell, you would try to go not beyond 10 megabytes per cell, again, to keep the smoothness of the database. So what if you would like to insert big files, big binaries in Cassandra? No problem, it's a good use case, a lot of people doing it. Netflix is pretty famous to put a lot of data in Cassandra. I'm not sure if they put the video part in there, but what you would do if you would split the binary content into chunks, the video ID is your partition key, and then you do have a lot of chunks as many rows inside the same partition. So you can get the full video in the single read, but still you keep low volume in the cells. How does
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just see also another question. How does Cassandra deals with hot partition? So if you do have a hot partition, so first remember you do have a replication factor. So the client, the application, is aware that the data is replicated. So the driver will load balance the query into multiple replica. So even if you do have a hot partition, the request will be a balance in the replica just to scale out. But still, that also means that your partition is not probably enough accurate, enough fine-grained. And you would like, again, to split that partition using the bucketing trick to get smaller partition and be able to distribute evenly the queries around the node in your cluster. Okay, I'm done.
There we go. All right, so going to move on here to the next section here with lightweight transactions and batches. So now this, again, we saw a host of questions yesterday that almost always come up, especially when we're talking about data modeling and having multiple denormalized tables that sometimes are going to share keys or share information across them. And the question almost inevitably always comes up is, well, is there a way to synchronize those, right? And there is. That answer is batches. There's also the case of sometimes you have a scenario that you need to control for or whatever. And since the nature of Cassandra is not to perform a read before write, right? We do that for performance reasons. Sometimes there are good use cases where you might need to perform that read before write to do a comparison and such. And that's where lightweight transactions come into play. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So sometimes, if you're going to perform an insert or update, like I mentioned a moment ago, you're going to need that read before write. Now, LWTs, lightweight transactions, are really the closest thing to an ACID transaction that Cassandra has. They are not ACID compliant. They are not ACID transactions, but they're the closest thing to that. And if you remember from yesterday when we were talking about consistency levels, right? And you can kind of choose on a range of consistency that you want for a particular operation per query. You can do the same thing here. LWTs are on the strongest side, right? They're the most ACID-like. But again, understand that because now you are performing a read before write with lightweight transactions, that they do have performance implications, right? You don't want to use them for every query or something like that. All right, so let's take a look. Let's look at the problem, right? Why might I want to use a lightweight transaction? Let's say that I have two application instances, application instance A and B, and then I've got a single Apache Cassandra database. Now, application instance A reads reads record 1. At the same time, or like right after it, application instance B also reads record 1. But now, application instance A makes some changes to that record, where now we have this record 1A. But right after that, application instance B also makes changes to that same record. Then application instance A goes to read it and goes, hey, what happened to my changes, right? Because now what they're seeing is last write wins in Cassandra. They're seeing now what application instance B just wrote, right? So depending on the use case, this may not be, what you want to do. So if we break this down and look at it in actual queries in the output, right? So in the beginning here, we're going to select from the user credentials table, specifically where my email is newuser@gmail.com. Now, right now, we don't have anything in there. It's empty. Now I insert some data, right? And notice here where I say insert into user credentials, and I've got some values here. So I've got that key, newuser@gmail.com, password A. But notice that if not exists. This is me triggering the lightweight transaction. Now, in this case, there is no data in the existing table. So this will resolve to be true. And you'll see that applied true. Something to know from the application development standpoint, by the way, is that this is in CQL, the example we gave. But if you're doing this in code, you will, like in Java, it's .was applied, right? The different languages will be was applied or something like that. The point being is that you and the object that gets returned back to you, you'll be able to see this Boolean to know whether or not the lightweight transaction was applied or not. So in this case, there were no previous values. So when we do the lightweight transaction, it goes, okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and insert that row.
Okay, so question, why it's called a lightweight transaction? Well, the reason is it's not an ACID transaction. It's not a commit, in the way that you would do with Paxos or Raft or any distributed. It's really best try. And lightweight means also you can do some kind of transaction, but only limited to a single partition. Those are quite limited, so this is also why they're called lightweight.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Okay, so then in the final case here, you see now we select that same information, select from user credentials where the email is our key, newuser@gmail.com, and now we have the value. Okay, wonderful. That's the insert. Now what happens? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the data from that particular key again. We see that this table has a row. My key is newuser@gmail.com with password A. I want you to notice that. Now what happens if I try to insert another row, but with the same key, right? So I'm trying now to say I want to insert into user credentials with the same key of newuser@gmail.com, but notice the password is different this time, right? I have a lightweight transaction because if not exists, but see here what happens. The applied is false. It's saying it failed to be able to apply this, right? And what it does though, this is kind of key, especially from the application development standpoint, this is key to understand. That not only does it say I cannot apply this because the password value here was different, but also it will return you back the current state of the row, because this way now you can use this to reapply or try to reapply that particular operation, right? So notice in this case, it prevented me from being able to just insert on top of what was there because the password value was different. So if I go ahead and select now again at that same key, you'll see that my password is still password A. So the lightweight transaction is there to prevent from having like a race condition like issue. Okay, so let's try this again. So I'm going to select from the table, again with that same key of newuser@gmail.com. Notice we have password A. But now I'm going to use an update, right? I'm going to update, and this time I'm going to say I want to set my password to some new value, password XYZ, where the email is equal to some key, and if password, that's that lightweight transaction again, if password equals password A. This is the part where we're now saying, okay, I want to do that compare and set. I'm going to compare to the current value if password is password A, and if that matches, now I'll go ahead and update to password XYZ. What happens? That is applied and is true. So now if I were to do my select statement, I would actually see that the password is password XYZ. Okay, let me see. I'm just checking for, do we go, if we have any lightweight transaction questions?
Yes, I'm answering live.
Wonderful.
Yeah, most are really deep dive, so I'm doing answering on spot.
Okay, all right, so I'll move into batches. So hopefully that gives you an idea, though, from the lightweight transaction standpoint, again, where those come into play. Don't forget, though, that there is a performance hit when you're using them. You're now performing that read before write, so using sparingly. But if you do have that kind of race condition kind of use case, then they're a really good place to use them. Okay, so then moving into batches. As I mentioned before, batches really come into play if you have multiple denormalized tables and you want to keep them in sync, right? That's where they come into play. But a key thing, you see it there in the bottom in red, is a CQL batch, a batch in Cassandra, is not the same thing as a relational batch or an SQL batch. They are not meant and not intended at all to be batching up like loads of data and loading big amounts of data or something like that. That is not their intended use. It's unfortunate the name is the same, so sometimes people get a little confused. Here's what they do, though. You can apply a set of like statements, a set of insert statements, essentially as a group, right? And what will happen is use this nomenclature, this syntax, begin batch, you have your set of queries and apply batch. So all the queries, you see these 3 insert statements that are in here. I'm inserting data into different tables. So I'm inserting into one table, another table, and yet another table. And these will be treated as a group. So either they're going to all apply or not. If any one of these fail, they all fail, right? Now, something to be clear about, though, is that batches are not atomic, right? They're not atomic. What they really are essentially a stronger retry mechanism. So it's a different kind of guarantee. It's saying if you apply a batch across these 3 tables, that the system is going to ensure, like I said, that if any one fails, that they all fail, or they will all retry until they succeed, kind of thing. So it's a stronger retry mechanism to help ensure that if you do have multiple denormalized tables that you do want to synchronize data in, that they're in sync, right? That's what they're there for. And if the operation fails for any reason or something like that, then your client will be notified, and you can just at that point replay the batch, right? Because in Cassandra, generally speaking, our writes are going to be idempotent, and so you can just replay it and replay to get the effect of the batch. So again, it is a stronger retry mechanism, right, to help you in cases where you might have multiple denormalized tables that you want to synchronize. One last thing on this is, don't go overboard with batches. There is still, if you think about the amount of coordination that needs to happen when you are using a batch to coordinate doing all of the writes of the different tables and everything, there is a performance penalty here. I would say I've seen, in Cedric, I'll be curious to see what you say on this one. I've seen generally keep it to within a handful maybe of tables. I wouldn't go past a dozen, right? After you start going past a certain kind of value, you're going to see some definite diminishing returns. I might really want to take a look at my data model at that point if I have like 100 tables in my batch. I don't know, Cedric, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so batch should not be considered to do bulk loading. It's really not the same as RDBMS, and this is also the reason David told you not to put too many statements inside the same batch. So it applies for multiple records in the single table. Okay, don't try to extend 100. It has not been designed for it. To do bulk loading, you could use some free tools like dsBulk, very effective, and it will tell you how many records have been imported or exported. And when it comes to multiple tables, yeah, because with denormalization, you will have to insert the same data in multiple tables because you will have multiple queries to fetch this data. And so if you reach 10, 12, 15 tables to store the same data, yeah, maybe it's time to denormalize again, putting more data into the same tables to have a bigger table than try to doing a lot of small requests, trying to insert in multiple small tables.
Cool. All righty.
So yeah.
All right. So with that, yeah, go ahead.
Now before going to the music, so yet again, question about. So people ask about transaction, telling me that okay, so it's not a real transaction. So can you really do a real live application on top of Cassandra? It's like, there is no commit, no rollback. I'm not confident on anything. So it's not true. There are pretty famous big banks that are 100% on Cassandra. So Monzo Bank in the UK, it's 100% on Cassandra. And so of course you need to change the data model. You need to think like ledger, append only. This is what also we also call that event sourcing data model. You will insert any modification you apply on the data, and when you read, you will read all the modification and compute at read what is the result. This is called a ledger kind of data model. We could share some links later in the chat to do it. But 100% you can totally do banks or any kind of account. And also, you can do kind of transaction with LWT as long as you stay inside a single partition. So you can put all the transaction for a customer inside a single partition. The UID of the partition will be the customer ID, and then if you want to read the balance of an account, boom, you got all the rows at a single call. Easy.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Cedric was saying there with the folks that have actually implemented this, right? There are, I guarantee every single one of you today, right now, whether it's an app on your phone or as Cedric just mentioned with banks or something, are using all sorts of mission critical applications and stuff that used to be implemented in a relational database on Cassandra. Uber, I want to say Lyft, most of the major credit cards, a lot more banks than what Cedric just mentioned. Apple is a huge user. Netflix backend is completely Cassandra. I mean, McDonald's, Starbucks, like there are so many folks out there that have transitioned from using, you know, relational databases over to something like Cassandra. And there are other ones that I'm not even mentioning. Many times in the US, if you're mailing a package anywhere, you're most likely using Cassandra somewhere. So, and it's not just a standpoint of, oh, wow, these big names are using it, it must be a good, but I mean, there are, again, the banks are actually a really neat example because a lot of folks feel like the banking model has to be dogmatic consistency or something like that, but it has essentially been eventually consistent always, right? How many times do you deposit your check in the ATM? This is dating me a little bit, but you deposit your check in the ATM, and that is eventually consistent, right? So it's a model that technically it works very well, and it has been implemented over the last decade plus that Cassandra has been around. It has been implemented very well from folks who came from relational world. So it's definitely doable. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Cedric.
Yeah, no, switch to countdown mode. I won't start the music soon because I will answer a couple of more questions about batches,
Okay, yeah, why don't you answer the question about batches and then we can go to the quiz.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so cool. We do have the question, often, if I do 3 statements in a batch and the batch failed, what are the statements succeed and how to recover? Always the same question. So the answer is, if the batch failed, you cannot know which statement was in success and which failed. And of course, as advocate, we try to find out a use case and demonstrate how to do it. But it's really difficult to make a partial batch because for each statement, so each statement will be sent in parallel, remember? Okay, there is no order. And if one of the statements fail, the statement will be retry and retry and retry again. And remember, each time we retry, we change the replica. So to make a batch fail, that means that either your whole data center is down, and you may have more issue than an inconsistent batch, or you hit 3 replica down, and the 3 down replica are the one who hosting the data for only one of your replica. That could happen, but that's very, very rare. So, of course, each time we explain what is a batch, everybody think about the use case where it failed, but to be honest, it's very, very few use cases.
Okay. All right, sorry, I was just answering something here. All right, let's get to our next quiz. All right, so with this, we're going to quiz this last section. Again, I've only got 53 thumbs up. I know there's more of you out there. If you want your swag, you got to join. So let's go back to menti.com. Let's go ahead and drop the link just in case. And again, we're 13, 25, 82. There we go. Just in case. There we go. I see the numbers going up. That's wonderful.
So I think you're alone. Okay, not only you're alone because I'm kind of mute, but I will totally make myself disappear. So, hop, hopla.
I never want you to disappear, Cedric. All right, almost there with the numbers. Let's get to 90. Let's get to 90. I get a 90, we'll do it. Boom, there's 90. All right, let's do this. So for advanced data types, 5 questions. Which clause indicates an LWT? Let's see what. That's right. If not exists. If not exists. If I only remembered. That's funny. All right, wonderful. Let's see who we are on the leaderboard. Why is it still holding the lead? You'll never know, though. It depends on this part. Oh, wow. Mukunda jumps up. And, why is it still holding it? Oh, why is it still holding it? Someone's got to knock a Wise down. I don't mean anything bad about you, Wise. Which is true for lightweight transactions? That's right. Lightweight transactions require a read before write. I was a little tricky there with the are really a stronger retry mechanism. That is a batch, and they are not ACID compliant. They're ACID-like. They are not ACID compliant. Alrighty, moving on. Let's see what the leaderboard looks like. So close yet again. SS is jumping up a little bit. Oh, a little shift. Oh, SS and Siva. But Wise is still holding the lead. Is anyone going to knock a Wise down? I don't know. Next one. LWTs prevent which of the following? That's right. They prevent concurrent update race conditions. Nobody. I always choose my joke, and nobody else chose my more antimatter than antimatter in the universe. I thought that was really funny, but apparently people want to actually answer the quiz correctly. This is probably a good thing to have. But yes, it is. They prevent concurrent update race conditions. All right, and how are we doing on this one? Oh, I wonder. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Okay, you guys took on the challenge. I'm sorry, Wise. You still have more time. You still have more time to break it up. But SS has now taken the top, and Ramesh in a close second there. Love the competition. It's fun. LWT should be. That's right. Use sparingly due to performance overhead. That's very good. And they are applicable to both insert and update statements. What's that, Cedric?
No, that's nothing.
Okay. Are we here in echo?
Okay, no echo.
Yeah.
Like I should have dropped.
Audio
yeah.
Going on.
No, I should have dropped the echo. I was trying to make you sound louder. Because now you are also on my I show you output, and I cannot make you louder.
Okay.
So you would have to talk closer to the mic. Sorry.
Okay. Are you guys hearing me okay then? No echo? We good from that standpoint now? Wait for some kind of confirmation. All right, I'll just keep an eye out. Better luck next workshop. Oh, that's great. All right, let's see what our leaderboard looks like. Okay, it looks fine now. Okay, good. All right, and where are we now? Oh, wow. Yeah, this is like a really tight race here between the four on top. All right, so we have more coming here. All right, which of the following is not true for CQL batches?
Try to speak again.
Which of the following is not true for CQL batches? Hopefully it's a little louder now.
Yes.
This one was kind of hard because of the not. Honestly, it makes you think about it a little bit. But that's right. Batches are not atomic. Matter of fact, batches are used for updating denormalized tables. They are a stronger retry mechanism. And, I actually think that batches are, in fact, best stored in large baskets. I was thinking fruit myself. But, okay. All right, let's see what that leaderboard looks like. And, oh, this one, that had a range of responses, and that was a tricky one. Wise takes it back. Wow. All right, but we've got Remission, Siva, and Rohit. Rohit's coming back up as well, so wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead then, and we will change over to the next section with Mr. Cedric here. So let me stop sharing my screen. All right, Cedric, it's all yours.
All right. Okay, so let me first. Okay, I should be back. Can you hear me well? Okay. Okay, now also David is back.
Yeah, but you don't exist.
Oh,
you're
yes,
in the ether.
I don't exist. Okay, let me. Whoa. So now I take over, David. I think I'm now sharing my screen, and you don't know anymore. Okay, so let's switch to the application driver part. Okay, so if DataStax is famous for one thing, is to have always provided the drivers to connect to Cassandra, so open source and enterprise, in multiple of languages. So first, obviously, to connect to Cassandra. We told you before that those drivers are pretty clever and knows on which replica are each token, and are able to directly connect to the proper node and get the answer, meaning the coordinator node is also one of the replica. You do have load balancing, so if any, if you have odd partition, as we had the question before, the driver will load balance the same query in multiple replica holding the same data. If the request failed, you can do retry. If the connection is lost, is reconnected. We will see in a minute that we do the connection pooling for you. You don't have to do it on your own. And we do health check, so meaning if one replica is down, the driver is aware and won't try to send requests to that guy for a delimited period of time. Authentication, authorization, same. And then, of course, you can do some query, SQL support, schema management, multiple kind of queries we will design in a minute. And of course, when you have executed a request, you want to parse the results. And we will see how you can do that, multiple ways to do it. So in January 2020, now all the driver has been merged as a single one, open source, and what used to be enterprise-only features are not free for all at the driver level. So let's see what it looks like. Well, you do have an app, and we provide you some cloud instance for you. With the app, we will define the driver, set up the driver to be able to connect to Cassandra database. As I told you, tons of coolness in the drivers. So for our hands-on today, we do have 3 languages. So we do have Java is the most used language to work with Cassandra. I think it's about 60 to 70% of people using Java. So as you can see, this is how you declare the dependency using Maven. For Node.js, this is a package.json. You would have an npm install to install the Cassandra-driver. And for Python, pip install or pip3 install if you're using Python 3. So I think we are using Python 3 for the hands-on today. Okay, so just single dependency to import, easy, right? So now this is your app, and you want to connect to this Cassandra cluster, Cassandra ring. So when you initiate the connection, you will provide the IP of one of the nodes. This is what we call a contact point. And at first request, the client will be aware of the topology of the full cluster. The first response for this node would be, oh, this is all my buddies, this is all the IP you need to know with all the port to listen to. And starting with that, client is, at the driver level, is aware of the topology and can load balance the request efficiently. So I put some seeds here. So one contact point is necessary, mandatory, but if for the very first connection initialization this node wouldn't be online, that's a good practice to provide two. Okay, and which one of the two would you provide? Okay, anyone could be okay, but in the gossiping mechanism, you know, the protocol where a node exchanges the data one together, the gossiping mechanism tends to get priority on the seed nodes. So that's just a best practice to put the seed nodes as contact points to be able to connect and to have the data as fresh as possible. So one is mandatory, more are good. That for a regular Cassandra cluster, but from yesterday we work with Astra Cloud Cassandra as a service in the cloud, and it's a little bit different. Instead of providing the direct IP, we have created a proxies and load balancer on top of it. And so you will see in the end zone, you will have to download the zip, so called the Secure Connect bundle. In this zip, there are some certificates and some settings to enable a two-way TLS connection between your app and the Astra cloud. And using some SNI, server name indication, the driver will be able to know to contact each node, exactly that you do with multiple contact points, but now it's through TLS, fully secure, and using SNI as a trick to route the request to the proper node. And to log in to Astra, you will have to provide parameters as the Astra, the zip, and username and password, and that's it. So what does it look like? For my sample, I'm using mostly first Java. As I told you, Java is mostly used. So you can either put all the configuration in a dedicated file called application.conf. I won't go into the detail today on it. Or you can explicitly define what you need. So as a comment here, I said add contact point, yada yada yada. This is what you would need if you work with Cassandra on your machine. Today we are working with the Cloud Secure Connect bundle because we are working with Astra. And so it's the Fluent API and simply do with Cloud Secure Connect bundle, and that's it. So line with contact point, forget about it, should not be there. With key space, okay, you've created a key space in Astra. And finally, and very important, provide your auth credential, KV user, KV password. This is the one you enter yesterday or today when you created the Astra instance. So what you can do on Java, of course, you can do it on multiple languages. So on the Java, I won't re-explain. This is how you do it on Node. You will create a const client, providing the same parameter, and you're good to go with this object. And in Python, you will use cluster. And this is how you will define, but no surprise, this is exactly the same parameter you provide. And for the Python, please note that you still have to invoke connect to get a session, whereas in Java now it's only session builder. In Java, it used to be also cluster session. It's not the case anymore. Okay, so that's sample code. You will have the same code to run today. Important things to know with SQL session. I told you, yeah, you want to say something, David?
Yeah, go ahead, Cedric. Real quick, we had a question about where do you get the Secure Connect bundle in Astra?
Okay.
I was going to give a text response, but it might be something if you show it real quick.
Yes,
then it'll
so
be a lot
let
easier.
me exit my full screen then. go to Astra. Okay.
There you go. Cedric's going to show you right now.
Yes.
Try.
It's part of the hands-on, but if you want to go ahead, okay, so this is one of my database running. And as you can see here, you do have the connection details, okay? And yesterday and today, we launched the DataStax Studio. Just below how to connect an app, here you do have download secure connect bundle. This is the one you need to click on, and you will get your zip file. See? Simple as that. You can also right-click, copy the URL, and do curl, and boom, you download in the archive. It's working. All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the way, but it's right there. It's behind
me.
Oh,
are you?
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing.
All right.
Yeah, it's in the connection details part, though.
That's funny. Okay, let's back about the SQL session. So I told you that the driver handle a pool of connections, actually a dedicated connection to each node to do else check. Well, the SQL session is a stateful object. It does the pool for you. You don't have to do it. And so the SQL session should really be a singleton in your app. And here I show you how to declare the SQL session as a singleton using Spring. But also, when the application shut down, you also want to close properly your SQL session, because this guy have so many TCP connection open, and you want to properly close those to free the sockets. I mean, that's just the best practice. Create what we call the shutdown hook, and closing properly the SQL session when the application goes down. Okay, fair enough. Don't see any question here. Moving forward. So, with this SQL session, you will totally work. You will do all the operation on Cassandra. So first, executing queries. And those queries are what we call statements. So even if you execute something that looks like a string, you have to remember that behind the scene you will create an object named a statement, and you can provide a bunch of metadata to this statement to make it faster, more consistent, to use paging and everything. So only going string is not what you want to do. You really want to create the statement explicitly. And to do that, first you can use simple statements. So again, that's a Java language. You can do about the same in the other languages. So first I can do simply say simple statement dot new instance my query string. But we didn't really change anything here. We still can have SQL injection attack kind of deal. So first thing is to externalize, put all the variables parameter outside. And to do that, we use question mark. So here, simple statement dot builder, and instead of the value 5, we put a question mark. And then we can use the Fluent API to say add position value 5. Okay, that the first parameter, the first question mark in my statement would be 5. Okay, I can use either this positional value. I can also put a name on that variables. So third line is I put the name myval, and I use add name value to associate myval to 5. I would recommend you to do the last. It's pretty easy just to exactly put the variable in the proper order and use named instead of positional value. It's more easier to maintain. And once you have defined your simple statement, boom, simply execute your statement. So what you can do in Java, you can do it in Node like that, and you can do it in Python like that. So here the statement is more or less hidden, but you can see that at least we have externalized the parameter to a dedicated array right after the statement. Okay, so I see in this code that yes, that's a good way to use named names when you can. Add name value is a strong type. Yes, in Java everything is a strong type. So you do have multiple name value for string, int, object, anything. It is, at least for Java.
Yeah. Not all languages are the same that way.
Yeah,
sure.
that's for sure. So this one is very important. So instead of just doing create my simple statement, execute, create my simple statement, execute, you would like to prepare your statement at the startup of your application. When you do a prepare, you will evaluate the query. You will check if the table exists, if you have entered the proper column name, and the syntax validation is done only once. And not only that, when you execute this operation, you will get in return something called a prepare statement ID. And this guy will be not only stored at the driver level, but also at the server level. That means that now when you want to execute the query, you will simply provide the value for the parameter and this prepare statement ID hidden under the hood, and the request will be much faster. So that's a very easy way to speed up queries, is to prepare in the beginning and only use prepare statement and byte statement. And within these either simple statement or prepare statement, you do have tons of metadata to use, including consistency level, paging size. We will see a few in a moment. Okay, now we have execute the statement. This is the first row. What you will get is a result set. Okay, in the result set, two important parts. First is everything about the execution info. You get the query trace, how many times it lasts, is it a slow query or not. This is what I call the plumbery. But nevertheless, log that info in the log of your app. It's not bad because you can spot slow requests in some way. And the most important part is, of course, the data itself. So you might expect that I would get a list of results, but that's not really the case. Because remember, Cassandra is working with a huge amount of data. So if I say I do have, 1 billion row in a table, very easy to do. And now I do select star from my table. So not only it will take time because you do a full scan of your cluster, contacting all the nodes, but also that would be a huge amount of data to retrieve and to get back to you. So best case scenario, your application has less memory than the Cassandra node, so you blow up out of memory. Worst case scenario, the node have less memory than you and Cassandra nodes blow up. So of course this is not how it works. Every request in Cassandra is paged, and by default the page size is 5K, but you can check this value, you can change this value at any time. And when you will get, it's not the 5K result, is some kind of cursor, an iterator. And this is, and by default you get the first page. And this is the reason why you can say get available without fetching. That means in my result set, I get only my first page, maybe 5K. And what will happen when I start reading the value inside the iterator? When I finally reach the last record in my result set, the driver will fetch page number 2 for me under the hood. Okay? So if you do result set.all, you actually said, I want everything, I want all my results to be exhausted, I want every page, and it might take some time. So you need to know what you are doing. Okay, so don't do result set.all each time. Sometimes you might have some trouble because it will be slow and you don't need everything. All right, so more command to parse the result set. If you know that you do have a single record in the result, you have performed a query providing the full partition key, the full primary key, sorry, the full primary key. So your unicity is unsure, you simply have to do result set.1. Would be null if the data has not been retrieved, or you will have something if the data is retrieved. Result set.all, as I told you, be careful, it will fetch all the pages for you. you would rather use an iterator and parsing only the rows you need. And if you've not reached the get available count without fetch, then you don't have to go and fetch page 2. You can use lambda, okay, and to check about LWT, and David showed you that before today, if you execute a lightweight transaction and the result already exists, yeah, you will get false for applied, and you will get existing result. And if the data is not existing yet, you will insert the data and get applied true, at least if you insert if not exist. Yeah, so to know if the data was there before or not, you can use the Boolean was applied. And we do have we had exactly the same in the SQL shell just before. Okay, so either you use .1 or the iterator. Now you do have your row. So the row is working really the same as you would work with the row in RDBMS world. You will access column by using either their names or index. So we are using names, and we are providing the type of data we want to retrieve, and it will be retrieved for you. Row, Boolean, durations. Of course, we provide a mechanism to what we call object mapping. You create an object, annotate properly the object, and when you ask for the data, you can automatically populate expected object based on the annotation you provide with the name of the column. This is really like you do in GPA, Hibernate, all kind of deal. You do also, still in the Java world, I told you guys I'm mostly a Java guy. You also have Spring Data working well with Cassandra, of course. Okay, what about paging? Okay, I told you that you can add some metadata in the statement object. Page size is one of them. I told you by default 5K, but I can say, oh, I want to show my result on the web page, so I don't need to download internet for that. I only 10 first elements. So I provide 10 as a page size and execute, get 10 records in page 1. And also in the execution info part, you get something called a paging state. It's a byte buffer. You can translate that as a string if you wish. And when you need to request page 2, you will simply execute exactly the same statement, but you will now provide the paging state. And that will help you go and fetch page 2 for you directly. And like you can save the paging state in your session if you're working on the web. But yeah, this is really what you need to store paging state in between two requests. Okay, and now we can go to exercise number 7. So this time is not only Astra. You would have your Thea instance. So if you ping Alex or Jack before, so this is what it looked like. Oh no, this is not exactly what you could like. You could have a landing page, something like that. So let me go to the landing.
Now, Cedric, did you want to do the quiz beforehand, or do you want to do it after?
Let's see.
And by the way, there are some really good application development questions that are in the chat. I'm attempting to answer some of them.
Okay, so let's do the quiz then. I'm reading through the question and I come back with some answer. And yeah, let's do that, will you? So,
all right, you want to flip it back over?
Yes, to do it,
you want me to share? Or you can, okay.
Yeah, so to do it, I need to go back here and enable back your screen like that. So you're back.
All right, and I'm going to share my screen. And we will go back to the quiz. All right. So I see we already have 38 people that are in for now. Again, for those of you who want to get into the running, let's get those numbers up. I love all the thumbs up. I think that's a fun little feature of Menti, actually. You can see him coming out of Cedric's neck. All right, get a couple more logins. Let's see if we can get to 80. Can we get to 80? Getting for an exciting chance to win a swag box. Fun swag box. Fun DataStax swag box. We're so close. 77, 78. Two more. 79. One more. And 80. Wonderful. Boom. Let's do it. All right. So this isn't a long quiz compared to the other one so far. And here we go. What parameter do you need when connecting to Astra?
We shouldn't have any echo there because I did not enable the music here. That's weird. Should not be.
That's right. Secure Connect Bundle. It is the Secure Connect Bundle.
Maybe, okay.
Are we hearing bad echo right now?
Maybe I switch off one thing. Maybe not anymore.
Hey, Joy, is there still an echo? I saw you. Just getting a confirmation.
Are we good?
So.
Okay.
No echo. Hey,
yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So right, when you are connecting to Astra, you're going to use the Secure Connect Bundle. Now, for those of you who answered contact points, you're really close. So this question came up, so I'm just going to answer it here. The question came up, if I'm connected to Astra, but then I have my own Cassandra database somewhere, can I use the same driver and everything? Yes, you can totally use the same exact driver, the unified drivers, regardless if you're using Astra, open source Cassandra, or DataStax Enterprise. Here's the difference, though. If you're connecting to Astra, as Cedric explained, you're going to connect securely with SSL and that kind of deal through the Secure Connect Bundle. That in the driver from a parameter is literally a one-line difference, right? If you were connecting to your own open source Cassandra or DataStax Enterprise, then you would use contact points. So that's the difference, right? It's either Secure Connect Bundle or the contact points, depending if it's Astra or the regular Cassandra. But that's it. It's the same driver and the same everything else. All right, let's see what our leaderboard looks like. Oh, that was a really close one. I bet you everyone, the ones who got it right really fast. Oh, okay, and Siva jumps up, but why is it still on top with Rohit and Ramesh really close? We've only got 2 more questions here, so this is it. This is game time right now. Why should you prepare statements? All right. That's right, to speed up queries, prepared statements are not required. They are optional. You could just use simple statements, right? But as Cedric explained, if you do that, especially if you think about it, let's say that you had a 1,000-node cluster, because I like to be absurd. Let's say you had a 1,000-node cluster out there, and you had to, for every time you executed a simple statement, right, you actually have to parse and compile it and that kind of deal. Prepared statements, they do that once per node, and then they are cached up on the node. So it's from not only from a resource utilization standpoint, but from like a, reducing the amount of network overhead and everything. Prepared statements are generally the way to do it, right? So they're not required, but you should use them. All right, last one for this section. And how are we doing in our leaderboard? Oh, there was a spread on this one. Oh, Wise is really cementing the lead. Siva's like right there, but it's so close. All right, let's see. What's going to happen in the last one? How many session objects should you use in your app? That's right, 1 per application. That is so important, as Cedric mentioned. You only need one. Definitely not as many as are needed, right? So you create one, and then you would share that, make it a singleton, make it available throughout your application. Again, if you imagine that the session object is going to be storing connection pools to each one of your nodes, and imagine what that's going to look like, especially in larger clusters, right? It's a very heavy object for a good reason. It also maintains the cluster connection to your cluster. So your driver becomes aware of your cluster if nodes are up and down and their status and all sorts of things, right? So you don't want to be creating a bunch of these. You just need one. All right, and with that, let's see our leaderboard. Oh, look at that. Wow, that was... Oh, it's so close with Siva. All right, so OIs is our winner again. This is the first time we had someone over 2 days who actually won it both times. I don't know what we're going to do with the swag box in that case.
Man.
Congratulations. And Siva and Ramesh, you also, though, you guys are in the top 3, so definitely send something out to Jack Fryer to get your swag boxes. All right, and with that, I will turn it back over to Mr. Cedric.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move the little trick here. Oops.
And I saw you were frantically answering a bunch of the application development questions in here.
Yeah, at least I try. So, okay. So before going to the exercise, a couple of questions and answer in the chat. So first was, is there a way to know how many data would be in the result set before trying to, right now, and do not try to fetch page 2 and page 3 if you don't have to? Well, the only things you have is really get available count without fetching. So if you provide a page size for 1000 and in the get available count you do 500, you're good. And if it's more, you cannot really know because count star from a table in Cassandra is very cost a lot because you need to, again, full scan cluster, yada yada yada. But the page 2 will be fetched only if you go to the end of your cursor for page 1. So it should not be painful, and the request is done ahead. So it will be done maybe 2-3 records before the end, just to be able to actually execute the query and do it properly. Okay, so that was one question. That was one question. Okay, can we use Cassandra for user, product, device, subscription management, and everything? Okay. Of course, you can use Cassandra for any range of use case, but for highly connected data, as there is no joins, in the DataStax Enterprise product, we added a graph database to do that. And we tend to say, if you do have a small data set, I mean, it's still relying on a single machine. You don't have to go distributed. You can stick with RDBMS. It's not a big deal. It's really when you reach, kind of limitation of a single machine, can be CPU, RAM, network, disk, anything. You need to split things. You need to shard. And then Cassandra is very effective for that, and you can scale out a lot. But for small data set, with all these integrated stuff, RDBMS is still fine. Don't know what you think, David, but yeah, don't want to say Cassandra is for all use case.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, yes, and I think I'm done. Yeah, keep asking question, and David will poke me if he needs so. So for exercise number 7, so I go to Astra. Here, maybe I should have my. Okay, I should import my workspace. Okay. I do have tons of. Okay, Cassandra Workshop, Notebook 7, boom, I'm importing. See, I'm doing it right now. Okay, so you are doing the same. We are on time. I can do that with you, and I will here execute what needs to be executed. Okay, use killer video. Here I will use I do have a different key space, so I will do something like that, and I will simply execute that. Should be okay. And then I will need to download my secure bundle. So to do so, go to Thea. You know, on the URL we gave you, you do have multiple links. One is Thea. So I will open a terminal, new terminal. So I'm on the machine. And what I was asked to do, I will shut down that, is download that stuff and download locally that stuff. So to do so, open the terminal and simply see that you are on the proper path here from Ubuntu Workspace and execute the curl command. So curl and everything you need and redirect that to creds.zip. So let's see how it goes. So that's very funny. I said that I did not need the tab and now I need it. That's not a big deal. Let's go back to here. I will go to my database and right click, copy link address, go back to Thea, so pwd, seems I'm more proper, and so curl, that very long URL, and let's say I need to put that in creds.zip. Okay, let's see how it looks like. So I always do ls.l because we expect to have a file about 12K. So sometimes the link expired. So if the file is too small, please make sure it's 5K. And with that, you know, we can now still read the exercise. I will let you go through here. We'll let you 5 minutes. It will explain you how to do insert, how to do delete, how to do read and update. And each time, see, we provide you why and how we do it. So if I go to Thea and say, okay, let's see for Java, crud-java. First things to notice is you do have something called Dbconnection.java. And what are the parameters you need to connect to Astra? Yeah, again, the secure connect file, creds.zip, user, and password. And you know what? I'm not really sure about which user, which password I used. Yeah, probably those one. Yeah, I'm a bad guy. I don't use the proper credential. Okay, maybe I'll provide something like that. Okay, and that's it. And I could go to maybe insert, okay, and see, we said, okay, with secure connection bundle, with auth credential, user, password, and insert into. And guess what? I need also to change the key space name in my sample, or I will get into trouble. So I think it's auto-save. When it's done, well, I go to task, okay, run task, and as you can see, we have a lot of predefined tasks. So for Java, no surprise, we are doing Maven exec and provide the proper class name. So if I say insert, now I executed insert. So using the bundle, connecting with the parameter I provide, so success. I hope I remember my password correctly. Maybe not. I could have an invalid password. I should have used the default one. Okay. So the first time it's downloading internet, of course. And okay, it told me build success. Okay, seems that is happy, successful insert. So that means I've connected to my database and I've inserted a bunch of stuff in user credential table, especially cv@datastacks.com. So let's go back to the studio and let's do select star from user credential. Again, I do not use the same key space, and I will execute my cell and boom, yeah, I've done an insert using simply Java. You can do the same with Node.js and Python. It's okay. Dbconnection is there, Dbconnection is there. Very quite the same code. So you might tell, oh, I see here that's source code. If I do have my own instance, I can browse. But how many times will have this instance? Yeah, folks, you are probably hundreds out there, so we would have to close those instances in 24 hours, let's say. But you know, that's not a big deal. If you go to the GitHub repo, the one we use all the time, then you can see that there is a source code. And this is exactly what we clone when you spawn the instance. So that's it. It's simply there. Go, and you know, Java, you import as a Maven project, boom, you're good to go. Easy. So the purpose is really here not to trick you, to give you working sample. It's not a complex exercise with fill the blank or anything. It's a working CRUD. Okay, and maybe with that, I will give you, let's say, 5 minutes, because I did most of it in front of you. So let's say 5 minutes, and we go back to finance discussion and small survey. Yeah, we shouldn't be more than 20 minutes late as expected. Okay, in the meantime, I saw some people asking to redo the Java part. Okay, so I go to Thea. First, I'm using the terminal, so I, say terminal, new terminal, and I use a curl to download the zip file in this folder. All code will use this zip file. Okay, everybody will use it. Then I went to dbconnection.java. Okay, and I've provided the zip file path. You don't have to change it because we will all use the same file name, and provide username and password. Funny thing is, I didn't have a killer video instance running in my Astra, so I use an existing Astra instance I had, and I do not have the same password as you. You should use kv user, kv password. And see, those are constants embedded in dbconnection object. And now I go to insert. See, I don't have to change anything in my code. The only thing is I change the key space because I know I'm not using the same key space as you, but you don't even have to change anything. And now let's about executing this code. To execute this code, we have pre-baked, pre-defined queries. So you go to terminal, run task, and here you will execute one of the Java. So Java insert, Java select, Java update, Java delete. And for my first, it was Java insert. So folks, what will happen? The record already exists, right? Do we have an error or not? Okay, it's successful insert, but the record was already there. Yeah, you remember that from yesterday, I'm sure. It's really, every insert is an upsert in the Cassandra world. And the reason is we don't read before write to be as fast as we can. So it simply overrided the existing data. Okay, what is the time? 2 minutes left. Yeah, so yeah, you need to redirect the creds.zip, and yeah, maybe you should have copy again your link, because the link is, I think, is at the timeout, I think about 1 minute or something, and you have to copy it again. It's just ready to download the zip. Once you're done, you're done. Invalid bundle, missing conf file. Okay, so if you do have this issue, maybe the zip file is not properly downloaded. I told you that the link has a TTL, time to live. It took a bit of time. Try to copy the link again from Astra. The creds.zip should be about 12K. Okay, I think that's almost it. I don't want that stuff to ring. Okay, how do we get the info for the THEA login, address login? You send a direct message to Alex Voloshnev or Jack Fryer, who gave them to you directly. Okay, at least you don't hear it. Okay, so let's go back to slide, a few slides, and we are done. And I will let you go back, David, for the last part, for a last survey. So let me go in present mode. So everything that we have done so far is using synchronous queries. I provide parameter, prepare my statement, bind my statement, I get my result set, and then my result, right? The issue with that is everything is blocking there. Okay? So inside the drivers, you can now you can execute for ages query in async mode. So now you will provide the parameter, bind the statement, and instead of doing execute, you will do execute async, and you will get a completion feature. And if you work async already, you know that you will invoke when on complete on the completion features and doing the parsing of the object you get, which is async result set. You will get a notification for each page. That's very strong, very performant. There is one issue known with the async world is if you do nested async call, it's pretty hard to debug and know really when things go bad. And so to try to recover the simplicity of synchronous queries, but still having the performance of asynchronous, then come reactive. Okay, it's 6 years already. Eric Stream, reactive stream, and Eric Java for the Java part. But you do have call that look like synchronous, but that's actually asynchronous. And the DataStax developer teams have developed the driver. We write the reactive part of the queries, do not leveraging on an existing reactive framework, but really implementing the specification and validating the application using what we call the TCK, which is some kind of test suite for reactive stuff. So now when you execute, so now it's execute reactive, you will get not a result set, not a completion feature, but a flux. And flux is kind of completion features in the reactive world. You will subscribe to this flux, and then you execute a query, and now for each single record you will get a notification. And in the end, you will also get the notification on complete. And if you cannot keep up by, reading the data, there is a back pressure mechanism for you to keep up with this speed. But that's very simple code and very, very powerful features. It used to be only enterprise features, but from drivers 4.4, it now merged on the single unique set of drivers. Okay, so set of slide, and I will hang over to David for the survey, right?
Yep, sounds good to me. And just a couple things as well. I was answering some of the questions. So Siva had an interesting one, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what this is. So he was getting an error saying missing file config JSON. I'm getting this error when they try to work with the secure connect bundle. And what can happen, right? Matter of fact, let me share my grabbing my screen.
Oh, okay. So I need to
share back over.
Yeah, I need to put you back online. Okay. Boom, you're set.
And I think, am I sharing?
Yes,
now?
you do.
Why am I not seeing? Oh, start sharing. It would help if I click that button.
Yes.
Are you seeing me now?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay. So when you're in Astra and you have this download secure connect bundle, right? When you click with that, when you interact with it, it's going to time out. It's going to session out after 5 minutes, I believe, right? And that's actually a security feature that's in there. So what happens is if you go to grab that file and you say you copy link address, but then if you don't pull it down within that amount of time, it's no longer going to be valid. So what might happen if you look at the amount of bytes that are downloaded, I think it comes out to 300 bytes, and it should be 12 megs, I think, something like that. So if you happen to notice that the actual zip is very, very small, you might just need to go here and you just refresh and then re-download this, and it'll give you a new token and everything like that. And then you should be good to go, because it sounds like what I think I heard was that your creds.zip was probably invalid. So again, if you look at the bytes and it's only 300 bytes, that's clearly too small. It should be in the many, many megabytes range. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, just realize that, Siva, you got it. Wonderful. I'm actually curious, Siva, how, it's 12K, not 12 megabytes. My bad. It's 300K. Thank you, Wei, for correcting me. It's 300K or 12K, yeah. Or, oh, crap. Now I have to go look at it again because I'm just wrong on the size of it. But you can tell when you download it if it's outdated or dated out. You'll see the size is much smaller. Siva, it looks like you resolved it. I'll be very curious to know what you did to resolve it, if that in fact was the answer. The last thing is we added slides today, and we forgot to put them in the PDF that is in the GitHub repo. So we'll just need to.
We will need to update the repo. Good point. Good call. Yeah.
Yes. So we will get that updated for you guys. Okay. So with that, did I hear we want to go into the last part there, Cedric?
Yeah, I think you're now on charge. So yeah, move.
All right. And
there is a few slides left before the quiz, just for you. Okay. So everybody, you are a developer. You see that we provide you very, very sample, sample code, very CRUD. But we do have tons of sample codes for you in multiple languages. So first, and don't hesitate to ask, we do have a free forum, community.datastax.com. Come and ask your question. We will share code. We do have everything available for you. You're still sharing your screen, David.
Oh, I thought I was giving you the right screen. I'm sorry, bud.
I think we will just screen those slides very quickly, and you keep.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, because easier to me. Okay, so everything needed is on GitHub repo, the learn part. We told you already that. We need to update the PDF, as you told us. The community is there it's Stack Overflow for Cassandra. It's free. We are there to answer your question. Follow us on Twitch, subscribe to the YouTube channel, put a thumb up, a comment, how we can improve, make some noise around this channel. We are growing, and that's really cool. Slides and everything are available on the repo. So go to the next slide.
Yeah, and just something to add about the community. So, I've had some folks reach out and they're asking, hey, is it okay if we come and ask you questions and stuff? Totally. My general response, though, is go to community.datastax.com first, because it's not just us there. It is a whole group of some of the very Cassandra developers, people who really run these databases all the time and that kind of deal, and not just us, right? So that way you have a much wider group that can answer your question. And not only that, then when you post them on the community, you may be asking something that somebody else is also looking for, and you're going to help get a wider response and help get those answers out there. So community.datastacks.com is like the Stack Overflow for Cassandra. So start there. And if for some reason, if you're not getting your answer or something like that, come reach out, right? You can always DM me or DM Cedric or something like that, or one of us, and we'll come help you.
Totally. And if you are on Discord, you can also ask the question on Discord at some point. We are doing those framework every Wednesday, and you will see the schedule in a minute. We are there all the time to answer your question. Don't hesitate. We do have tons of sample code in multiple languages. It will take us 2 minutes to give you the proper sample code. So this slide is so at DataStax we provide an enterprise version distribution of Cassandra. We also provide support for open source Cassandra. It's called Luna, and during the pandemic we also provided some support with no charge. And so if you're running DataStax, if you're running Cassandra, even open source on production and have question, go to this URL, pick a slot on the Calendly, and we do have a Vanguard team ready to help you. Yeah, so if you want to take the certification now, let's talk serious, right? Only with yesterday and today, it's not enough to pretend passing certification. You need to take those courses on DataStax Academy. It's free. It's a MOOC for free. So it's quite some work, I think it's about 6 hours for the first, 8 for the second, and 12 for the third. Only the 3 first will be enough to pass the certification. But go ask, again, give us some feedback. Okay, I told you about existing sample codes. Killer Video is the reference application we are maintaining in the developer advocate team. This application is available in 4 languages, so Java, Node, Python, and C#. You do have the GitHub link here. It's a full working app, and we are doing ton of stuff, paging, async. We are exposing API. You can go there and copy paste from there if you do have questions again. But that's a huge bunch of code available for you here. Okay, and those are the upcoming events. So next week we will redo the Cassandra workshop on Kubernetes operator, how to run Cassandra in Kubernetes in 2 hours. Full on hands-on for this one, quite ops oriented. We will work a lot into the command line, I can tell, but it's not difficult. You will be guided again like today. We're having a good moment here. We do have the same in India. So as you can see, we try to run those events in multiple time zones. As just way told in the Discord chat, we have multiple languages in the community. We also try to do the workshop in multiple time zone and in multiple language. So India on the 18th, UK on the 26th, and French will be the week after, so June the 2nd. But let's see, I really want to point you to the Wednesday in 2 weeks from now. We call it the Astra Better Bots. We will create a full application based on Astra. You do have the knowledge. And after that, we are launching an hackathon to create a small apps on top of Astra, and we will provide some pretty serious gift cards for the winners. It will be a challenge open in 2 weeks and available for about a month or something. And as you can see, we do have something on schedule. To be aware of what's happening, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel or go to Eventbrite. Maybe this is where you subscribe for today. All the events are scheduled there, or also on datastacks.com events, and you will see us there.
Yeah, something I want to add about better bots. I was getting some questions separately from folks asking about, like, how do I go further, right, with application development and such, and Cassandra. BetterBots is a really good workshop for that. What we're doing here, really ties into the fundamentals of Cassandra data modeling, and then we start to tie in to, well, how do I get started with that? But BetterBots is going to take that to the next page for you. So for those of you who are those, the application developers, you're like, okay, I want to develop on Cassandra and can really use some help and examples there. BetterBots is a really nice workshop.
Yeah, that's really the full pieces. I want to create an application that do X, Y, Z. Okay, let's build the data model to match those queries. This is what we learned today. And then let's build an app on top of it and use REST and GraphQL API to do it. Yeah, it's a nice workshop. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I'm just going to put in a shameless plug for the NoSQL Bench one, which is one that I'll be doing come June. That one, if you've not heard of NoSQL Bench, really what it comes down to is, we talk about like these data model changes and how you do things in Cassandra that are a little bit different from what we've done traditionally in relational databases and such. But it's really key to benchmark and test out your data models. And even though there have been tools that are out there that allow you to benchmark things, a lot of them take a lot of esoteric knowledge. You have to really get deep in the weeds. NoSQL Bench is, essentially something that will allow you to very, very quickly test some normal patterns and be able to test your data models and be able to work through those and kind of see how it's going to perform at scale and such. We're going to be touching on that in the NoSQL Bench workshop. So definitely something to be taking a look at, and hence the name. It's not Cassandra Bench, it's NoSQL Bench. So you can actually use it to bring in things like Kafka or whatever other tools and such. So it's not just limited to Cassandra. That's my shameless plug.
All right, then.
All right, so with that, so I know that we are supposed to be getting to the end part here with our last set of survey questions. So we ask you, we'll finish off this last little piece and get into some of these questions. Again, we use this a lot to help us kind of all things, make things better. One last thing I'll say is I'm waiting for the numbers and the thumbs up to get you guys into the last set of survey questions, is that the instances, for those of you who requested the Theia instances that you're using for code, we're going to leave those up for the next 24 hours, right? So you guys will be able to kind of play on those. We're not going to shut them down right after the workshop right now. So they will exist a little bit so you can continue on and kind of play with the code. All right, so I will go ahead into the survey. Now, don't worry about the results that are already there. You can go ahead and just re-answer that. I'll see some of the answers coming through.
Yeah, so Sue asked a question telling that she did not find the Eventbrite for today. Yeah, that's expected. So this week we tried a new format, splitting a 3 hours workshop into 2 smaller 2 hours part. Yeah, just to take our time and have enough room to really proper do the exercise.
All right, well, thank you guys for your answers on that. Next question, how long should these workshops last? Again, ignore the data that's there. We'll just wait for your answers to come into play. I love how we always get in until my eyes bleed. Okay, so I mean, I don't want to be like confirmation bias here, but I am happy to see that it seems like a general majority are liking the 2 hour format. As Cedric just mentioned, we've been experimenting with this and trying to find out like what is the sweet spot for these workshops, especially the online workshops. And so that's why we've kind of switched to this 2 hour format. So that's always good to see. All righty. All right, let's go on to our next one. So how easy was it to get help during the workshop? Yeah, Try. I see that the 2 hours plus materials given in advance. Jack, I'm not sure if that's something we do in the initial email. But since we do provide all this stuff in GitHub repos and everything like that, I think we could probably add that in there really easily. Now, for some of you who were here yesterday, you probably heard me say the same thing. If you are in that group that's like not easy at all or not very easy, not that I don't want to hear from other folks. We want feedback from any of you, but especially for those folks, if you felt that it wasn't easy to get help during the workshop, we want to know why. What was it, right? Yes, we try to get everybody on Discord, but were you on like YouTube or Twitch and you're not getting the responses you expect, or was there something else you're just not getting the answers? We definitely want to know why so we can address that for the future. So please come and reach out to us. Okay. And how easy was it to attend Discord or YouTube streams? Okay, cool. All right. So it seems like generally speaking, we're able to get people to the streams, that they need to get to. If you're in that somewhat easy group or something like that, again, if you had any friction, we really want to know kind of what those friction points are. And then finally, how did you hear about this event? This is a multi-choice, by the way, so you can choose multiple in this one. TM, do I win answering the survey questions the fastest? Unfortunately, when it's just the straight up survey questions, it doesn't give us the stat of who answered at what speed. That's funny. Please share the URLs again. Which URLs are you referring to, Sarah? But I wonder if you mean these. If you're looking for like the GitHub repo and stuff like that, if that's not what you are looking for, please let me know. Yeah, Troy has a really good point. To make onboarding easier, to make a video to show how to use Discord Astra so the attendees could prepare in advance. That's a really that's a really good idea, actually. We have videos for the individual exercises and stuff, but I don't believe we've created one to do the onboarding piece. So that's a really solid idea. I think that's something we can probably do.
Slick. Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Okay, by Discord, I meant how to use Discord itself, not the video link. Yep. Yeah, totally. Got it. Cool. Yeah, very good feedback.
Yes, nice.
Alrighty. And I think that was our last one. I want to say one more thing before we let you guys go. On the events that we have coming up, I really didn't mention much about Fallout because I did my own shameless plug. But the Fallout workshop is about distributed scale testing, right? So that's another one that if you're looking for a capability like that, notice it's OSS Fallout, that you can use Fallout with your Apache, your open source Apache Cassandra clusters as well. So that is going to be another one that you want to take a look at. All right, and with that, everybody, thank you guys. This was a fun experiment.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope you like it, you enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, any feedback you guys have, drop it in the Discord. Let us know. As you can tell, we have a lot more workshops coming. We really try to vary the content and give you guys something new, something else that you can take back for your own personal knowledge or to your companies and everything. And we really appreciate you guys coming on and interacting with us.
Yes. So hopefully, let's see next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.